How to negotiate a wholesale deal. Guys, by the end of this video, you're going to know the top 3 strategies my team uses so that you have that unfair advantage over your competition and walk out with signed contracts. Every other month, I host what's called Scale. It's a 3-day training at my office. And we spend a whole day just on negotiation alone. And this ends up being the day that's like the most insightful and the most powerful for those that are attending. And guys, as I share these 3 tips, be ready for number 3, because if this is one that you can master, this is gonna be one that your competition's not doing and allow you to start getting more contracts. Tip number 1, and that is building rapport. Now we hear that a lot. We hear it in sales. We hear it in all the different like YouTube videos, build rapport, but very few break down in real time. What does that look like? How do we start to build rapport? Let me share with you a real time experience of what my team does to make sure that we're connecting with our sellers at a very high level. At the end of the day, guys, people do business with people they know, that they like, that they respect, and ultimately that they trust. So how do you build out this trust, right? People don't care about what you say until they know you care about them, right? It's that Zig Ziglar powerful quote. You need to make sure that you're listening more than you're talking. So ask great questions. As you go to individuals' homes and you're sitting there at the door, they're not gonna just sit there and talk to you. We have this rule of thumb that we don't talk about the home for the first 30 minutes. It's all about them. It's all about finding out what is going on in their life. How do you connect with them? What are some of the things you have in common? But that's not how it's gonna flow. When you show up to the home, they don't know you from Adam, right? They don't know you at all. And they're gonna speed you through the process because they may have a couple other people that are gonna come out and look at the home and make an offer. So you gotta slow them down. They open the door and say, hey, Cody, welcome. Let's start going through the home. Where do you wanna go first? Do you wanna go downstairs, upstairs? Do you wanna go look at the kitchen, the bathrooms, the backyard, the front yard? Where do you wanna be? Instead, I just wanna slow them down. Oh man, thank you for asking. And I'm looking for ways already to slow them down. And the easiest thing is, look for pictures on the wall. Look for something that maybe is something in common. Maybe they inherited the home. Maybe it's mom and dad's, they passed away, and it's still the original like build, the original flooring, original everything. So as you're going through, you see that thick shag carpet. And I remember this as a young kid. I remember my great grandma. She had this thick carpet. And I remember I could lay down in it and like do snow angels in this carpet. And more importantly, when I did it, I would like run my fingers through it, and somehow I'd come out with like 75 cents. I'd have quarters, nickels, and dimes in my hand that was hidden in this carpet. And so usually I'll share stories like that, like, oh my gosh, I remember when I was a kid and this would take place. This carpet is amazing. We cannot get rid of this carpet. And they'll be like, start laughing, like, oh, you gotta get rid of it. This carpet's awful. Just find ways to connect. Find ways to slow them down. Find ways for them to smile and talk with you. Tip number 2, and that is get their price first. This is crucial. This is something you have to do. He or she that says their price first loses. Do not be the first person that shares a price. So as much as they are adamant about getting a price from you, they're like, hey, tell me, how much can you pay for my home? Hey, what's going on? Like, you sent me the postcard. What are you gonna offer for my home? Slow them down and just ask them simple questions. Maybe one of those questions could be, hey, what are you looking to get out of this home? And they may be like holding reserve. I don't know. You tell me, what do you think is a good offer for this home? Now, guys, we're not there to educate them on what their home's worth or justify why we need to buy it for a low price. What you got to do is just follow to these rules, this process. Just get the price from them first, even if it's a high price. So another way around that is, hey, so how much money do you need to walk away with so you can move on to plan B? Well, we need about 20 grand. Okay. So what's owed against the property currently? And they'll tell you maybe 150. Okay, so now you know their number is right around 170, right? That's one way of doing it. The other way is, if they're really staunch, and we've had this happen just recently, is we'll say, hey, there's gotta be like, what is this get it done today so I can move on? The guy was going to Florida. I'm like, what is the get it done price today so that you can move on to Florida? And he said about 350. Now that was higher than we want to pay, but we don't focus on price. We just want to get the price out so that we can begin to do what is gonna be tip number 3. Hey guys, before I move on to tip number 3, as I'm sharing some of these strategies, you'll see that if you implement these processes, implement this sales negotiation, it's indeed gonna help you with getting more contracts. take a second right now and share this with your team. Maybe you have acquisition managers or you have someone on your team that goes out and does all your negotiation. Share this with them so that they can learn this content. Also, if you have friends in the business that are doing it, share that so that they can get on what negotiation is, what it sounds like, so they can start doing more deals. Tip number 3. This is one that I call the anchor. Now this comes from, I wish I could say this is my phrase, it's not. This comes from an individual, his name is Chris Voss. The book is called Never Split the Difference. And he talks about setting an anchor. Setting the anchor has to do 2 things. It has to be unrealistic and it has to solicit a no. So what do we mean by that? You're gonna be offering a price that's gonna be gut-wrenching low. One that you're like, oh, are they gonna kick me out of the house because I'm gonna say a price so low? Now, if you deliver it wrong, they may tell you, get out of here. Here's the wrong way of doing it. If they said, hey, we need 250,000, and ultimately you need to be around 175, I'm not gonna say, hey, 165. It needs to be very awkward. So if I need to be around 175, I'm gonna offer about 120. I'm gonna make sure it's all way down here so I have room to work my way up. Now, here would be the wrong way of doing it. 250, I can't do 250. I can only do 120. That's the best I can do. That sounds definitive, that there's no room for negotiation. And so they're gonna close doors. They're gonna be like, well, it's not gonna work. I guess you can see your way out, right? But what if you could deliver that same anchor of 120, but do it in a way that intrigues them or starts the negotiation process? Again, guys, has to be unrealistic. So 120 when they want 250, that's already unrealistic. And you know it's gonna solicit a no. You know they're not gonna be like, oh, okay, that sounds good. 120 is fantastic. No, they're gonna say, no, that doesn't work for me. So you're doing your part, but how do you do it in a way? Hey, don't know if I can do 250, follow me on this, but what if? You're leaving it open. It's not definitive, but what if I could do 120? And they're gonna sit there and just stay silent. This is where you've gotta be able to be okay with 15, 20, 30 seconds of just staying silent so that they can respond. Oh, Cody, 120, that doesn't work for me. No, not at all, right? It was unrealistic, it solicited a no. Now at this point, you have the opportunity to say, okay, tell me this, Mr. Seller. And I wouldn't say Mr., but tell me this, seller. How close can you get to that number? And let them negotiate against themselves versus you feeling like you're always tearing them down. Ask it the right way and they start to negotiate against themselves. So maybe they go from 250 down to 200. You know, I appreciate that. That's great. I'm glad that you would do that. Is that the best you can do? And ask again. Well, the best we could probably do is like 180. Okay. And you just sit there. Okay. What if I could come up to like maybe like 145, 150? And you start working your way up. And ultimately what this whole entire negotiation process looks like is you're just trying to get it as low as possible. There's no real magic number. So when people are like, oh, we need to know the comps, we need to know what our max allowable offer is. No, you don't. The whole goal is just find out what they want, offer an incredibly low offer as an anchor, but do it the right way that solicits a no, that is unrealistic, and leaves it open for negotiation. No is the beginning of all negotiation. If you can follow these 3 tips, you'll see that you're gonna start walking out with a lot more contracts. Hey guys, as a free gift, I've left a link down below in the description that gives you access to my real estate negotiation strategy crash course that really allows you to go in depth. More about what we just talked about today. I go in depth about negotiation so you can get out there and start closing more deals.